Hey, welcome to the Crypto Flywheel, the podcast where we spin up strategies to turn your digital efforts into unstoppable momentum. Let's get that flywheel turning. I am Digital X and I have Professor X. Take it away, Professor X.
Hey, how's it going, Digital X? This is a long time coming. We've been in this space for about 7 years, just chatting away and discussing digital assets and cryptocurrencies. And this, like I said, has been a long time coming, and we're excited. I'm excited. Are you excited, Digital X?
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, we've been in the space for a long time and learned a lot just being in the space. I can't tell you about the things that I've learned about the banking industry just through crypto. I mean, crypto actually basically changed the way I think, the way I view things, and it's just a different perspective. I mean, it's an awesome area and to be in.
Yeah, well, same goes here. I mean, just think about when we started talking about all this stuff back in 2017-ish, where we are today. Man, the space has evolved. When we started with just the Bitcoins and the Ethereums and then along the way, NFTs and all these meme tokens came in. And now what we're dealing with today, where it's part of mainstream and into utility-based real-world asset tokenization. So yeah, I'm really interested and I'm really excited about the space and would love to just like we normally do, just chit chat. Yeah, let's talk about a few things, and I hope our audience will start following us and listening to us and get some alpha out of this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the market now, especially with the way the markets are. It's up and down. It's very scary. But if you know what you've invested into and what protocols are going to change the new financial system, I mean, you're in good hands. What do you think?
Oh, well, yeah, I agree. Like, we've been following this space for now quite some time and understanding the fundamentals and how to ensure safely navigating through this new asset classes is essential. Along the way, both of us have come across a lot of, bad actors, if you will, and we've paid quite a fee, if you will, or a tuition fee in understanding this asset class, right? So yeah, we're excited to basically share our experiences, and hopefully our audience will gain some insights into it as well. And while we're just having a conversation.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into the space? What intrigued you?
Well, it started out with a YouTube video where I was just following this one dude about Bitcoin trading, leverage trading, So, and then from there, I actually joined a group and started leverage trading Bitcoin on, BitMEX was the exchange. And then from there, I know. From now that I think they folded with. There's a multiple exchanges that have folded based off of regulations and non-conforming to those compliances and regulations. So that's other things that we can get into, and yeah, so that's how I started with leverage trading Bitcoin.
Okay. I've actually got into the space just hearing about it on TV, and it was nonstop. At that time, I was actually trading regular stock market and watching MSNBC, and all they talk about is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. And that really, intrigued me. And so my first coin that I bought actually was XLM. That only reason being was because it was so cheap. It was at that time it was probably about 4 or 5 cents. And I thought, hey, it's only 4 or 5 cents, and I can get like 20,000, 30,000. And so that's how I got into it.
Well, XLM might have been serendipitously, but man, you brought into an asset that's going to essentially peer-to-peer is going to provide the rails for mainstream adoption, right? So that's a huge serendipitous, lucky, if you will. Now, fast forward 7 years, and now you have a firm understanding of what that actual project represents. So in our conversation here at Crypto Flywheel, we're going to be getting into the fundamentals as well as talking about what's going on in day-to-day activities as it relates to this space. So hang tight. Digital X and Professor X are going to be here to just chit-chat away, and then hopefully our audience gets some insights.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what's happening in the market today? I
Man,
mean,
there's
what do
there's
you
a
feel?
whole
What do you
slew of
feel?
things. I mean, the trending thing right now is real world asset tokenization, as you may have known. Not to get too into the geopolitical side, but the Genius Act was is introduced and it's awaiting Senate approval. And then we have the Fit 21 bill. There's a lot going on within making this more of a secured and confidence building asset class for institutions, and retail like you and I need to understand what's happening on the institutional side, because that's where things are going to expand and take off, so where a lot more volume is going to come into this space, 1 to 2, what is it, 2 trillion now? It's going to 2+ trillion.
Three.
It's going to, what is it?
But we're at what, 3 trillion right now, right?
Yeah, give or take 3 trillion. But I was alluding to it because it's going to eclipse really quickly, into about 10-20 trillion dollars in volume, market cap. The real world asset tokenization, reserve, native markets, all these different areas that are, institutionally that's adopting this, and behind the scenes, they're setting up their infrastructure to participate in a big way. So understanding that as retail investors like you and I, we are going to, and those that listen to us, are going to make some, quote unquote, the trending phrase is generational wealth, right? So we're trying to position ourselves.
So what you're saying is it's not too late to enter, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, we barely
all those looking in from the outside, what do you say to them?
Well, this is really an asset class that maybe 1 to 2% of the entire world's population is involved in. So putting that into perspective, yes, this is way early. We are all way early. However, if we don't know, we don't know. So the idea of our conversation and getting it out to the masses is to, hey, be aware, listen in on our conversations and what we talk about, the different topics that we'll be addressing as it relates to current events in this space, in the new financial system. So yeah, we're way early. That's exactly said.
So my problem when I first started was I didn't have anyone to lean on when I entered the space. So it was basically a trial and error. Now there's so many resources out there that can help individuals maneuver around the space confidently. So what do you suggest?
So, I mean, like you said, when we started, I too didn't have anybody to lean on. So I scoured through the YouTube videos and channels and influencers and content creators that were putting out content on this stuff. And this was a part of my life. Every day I would be following this stuff. I mean, along the ways, I'm not going to say that I wasn't lucky. I was 100% beginner's luck, and I amassed about 600% in my first 3 months involved in trading, and then taking the profits and expanding my portfolio or diversifying my portfolio into what you said in the current ecosystem is referred to the ISO 222. However, at the time, I didn't know that was the ecosystem, right? So that being said, I was also serendipitously involved in such great assets that are going to, that's going to position this new asset class. So yeah. What are you thinking?
Me? About in terms of
how are you going to how are our audience, how are they going to get involved? What should they do? What are the topics that we should talk about and possibly add value to our audience?
Well, from my experience, what I've realized is we used to jump into any coin that used to be presented to us via YouTube or through influencers or other individuals. But with the way the market is now and with the way legislation has passed with certain asset classes, my suggestion is to focus on utility projects that are there to provide a solution for the problems that we have in this financial system, or through
innovation. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So like we have projects that deal with AI. We have projects that deal with remittances. We have projects that deal with real world asset tokenizations. We have projects that deal with oracles that help distribute protocols between different blockchains. We have smart contracts. There's so many out there. So that's what I would suggest. I would suggest understanding utilization for protocols.
All right, Digital X, just out of for our audience purposes.
First, I mean, I would try. My first suggestion is understanding what Bitcoin Ethereum is, understanding what differences these two protocols have in terms of, how many. I mean, in order to understand a project, you have to understand the tokenomics of individual projects. So let's say Bitcoin has max supply of 21 million. You have to understand, okay, because of having 21 million, the demand for it would be much greater because it's more adopted and used by a lot of individuals, and there's demand for it. So the price goes up because of the short
Supply.
due to the supply, right? Limitation of supply. With Ethereum has a utility purpose, right? So just like that, I mean, each project, or what we call protocols, because they're all built on different blockchain layers, like all of them are layer 1, understanding layer 1, layer 2, so understanding the fundamentals is very important before going in and buying what you see that's listed on like exchanges like Coinbase, Uphold, Kraken, crypto.com. These are all exchanges that one can purchase tokens from. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah. So as far as these current cryptocurrencies, if you will, from Bitcoin, Ethereum, yes, those are pretty much a lot of these new investors. To actually purchase one is like almost, you can't. Effectively, you'd have to purchase fractional, unless you have that kind of capital. You have to purchase like a fraction of one in terms of Bitcoin. But let's say if you have, for example, $1,000 to spend, all right, and you don't care if you lose that money, you want to get involved in some set, what would be the most bang for your buck, if you will, and which projects do you consider to study first and then possibly get yourself involved in?
Well, in that aspect, I mean, since I know the different areas in blockchain, I would lean more towards the ISO 222 protocols. So that would be the XLMs, XRPs, QNTs, the chain links to the ADA, which is Cardano. These projects, I mean, we have several others in them as well, like Solana as well, Ethereum. So I would lean towards those first because I know they serve a purpose and they're trying to solve a problem. And so with the regulatory guidelines and frameworks being worked on through the Senate and Congress, those projects are going to survive. Because once regulations get passed, I believe about 99% will be gone. Look at it in this aspect. I remember when apps first came out with the iPhone, when iPhone released the apps and then Android started implementing apps. Everyone and their mother wanted to build apps. Not all of them survived, or not all of them did well. So the ones that really had a utilization behind it are the ones that are still alive and still being used. So in that same aspect is you got to look at blockchain and crypto and digital assets.
Well, digital X, I'm trying to say, okay, so our audience, they have $1,000. I would recommend to them, or not recommend, but suggest, if it were me, I would look for a multiplier effect. You know, where my $1,000, if I'm going to invest it, I want to invest in something where my $1,000 has a real opportunity to 10x. So with that, I would go with lower priced utility coins, right? And ISO 222 has many of those. So, I mean, you may not get to maybe X right away, or have large number of tokens or coins, if you will, but you may be able to still participate and see that, 10% increases up or down will provide great gains, and consequently also losses as well.
Yeah, I believe
The
so.
opinion
Yeah,
is leaning towards lower priced assets to start.
yeah, I agree with you, Professor X. I'm always looking at return on investment versus, the price of the project right now, right?